starting the second half of the day in here. And this particular session, as I'm sure you're aware because you read it in the agendas, is from Blind Date to the Fantastic Four, talking about an incredible journey of someone who has spent 30 years on our TV screens. Now, many of us of a certain vintage age, and I include myself in that, will say this is someone that we've grown up with on TV, from children's TV all the way through to hosting the Gadget Show. In between, there's been some acting and appearing in films with the likes of Clive Owen and Jennifer Aniston. All squashed in the middle of that, there's some radio hosting, was a pop star, which he loves the fact that I'm going to talk to him about, and also a bit of a stint as a stand-up comedian. So look, please give a very warm welcome to our guest to kick this off, Mr. Ortis Deley.
Where am I sitting?
Why don't you come and sit right next to me?
Thank you.
How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Good, good. So, before we kick off, I mentioned out there, I said, I've known you for a good few years, maybe not quite the 30 years on TV, but maybe pushing 25.
I don't know, it might be longer, because we have a few mutual friends. I'm pretty sure they would have introduced us at sort of high school age, so 30 plus.
So 30 plus years, obviously I remember when I met you for the first time. But what I realised is normally if I say to people, I wasn't get the pronunciation of their name correct. And I thought, well, I don't need to do that with you. But then I've always called you Ortis, but obviously that's not how it's spelled.
No, so my name is spelt with an R. I guess like the South American Ortiz. But the reason there's an R in my name, but it's silent, is just, it's West African phonetics. So my dad is Ghanaian by way of Nigeria, and the name Ortis is pronounced Otis. And so he wrote down how he believed the name Otis was spelt. There's an R in it, but we don't pronounce it. That's it. It's his fault.
So it's Otis?
It's not, no, it's not.
So do all the boys know this? Should I get on the WhatsApp group now?
I would suggest strongly.
And let them know. Yeah. As you can see up on the screen, hopefully, if you do want to ask any questions, please type away and we'll make sure that we get to as many of those as possible. Obviously, an incredible amount of time spent doing what you do, and we've now got, only 23 minutes to try and get through all of that. So let's try and look at some of the key moments, highlights. We can also talk about some not so great times as well, and how you managed to get through that, and what you are doing today and what you want to do in the future. But let's start then with the first picture up there. I don't know if any of the AV guys in the back, we can't see the actual screens in front of us, but we've got that big one above you, which you know very well. Why don't you tell the story of what this is and how this completely transformed your life?
That's where it all started for me. I was at university in Sunderland studying pharmacy, and some posters started appearing around the city saying that ITV were coming to town and they were doing auditions for Blind Date, which, for those of you not old enough to remember, was a dating show. Sort of like the archetypal dating show, and a bunch of us went forward for it. Of the 9-strong crew that auditioned, I made it. I appeared on the show. It had almost 14 million viewers, both of my episodes. And after that, I started getting phone calls about auditioning for musicals and TV dramas and stand-up comedy agents and children's television, stuff like that. And I was still at university at the time. I was about to start my 3rd and final year. And it was something that I was curious about, but didn't want to drop out of uni for it. So I started working part-time on cable and satellite TV. But yeah, that's where it all started.
So that must have been then, so you're at university and also you're on TV?
Yes. Yes, so Saturday mornings and afternoons in Sunderland city centre started to get quite interesting, because young people or families with young children started, pointing at me which
is not always a good thing.
Not always, no, not
had to explain
not in Sunderland, yeah. So I started to get an idea of what it was like to be on TV and be recognised in the street before I left uni.
You've missed out, obviously, a really important thing as well that happened off the back of that. And maybe we'll just, go to the next pictures as well that kind of have some of those things that I led on to. And there it is, the last one, of course, which is my favourite and took me an incredibly long time to find. And
so, as I said, after appearing on the show, there were quite a few opportunities that were made available to me. I spent about 4 years on cable and satellite. I launched a TV station, or co-launched a TV station called Trouble, which was named after a single that I released. So that's a copy of my CD, top middle there. It's fair to say it flopped.
Oh, come on! Give us a little rendition now of it.
Never happening. But it was good fun. Soon after that, I started working on Live and Kicking, so bottom right, and Live and Kicking was sort of the BBC's premiere children's TV show on Saturday morning. So it was a live magazine show. It stretched 2.5, 3 hours, and within that there were interviews, other TV shows, lots of fun stuff with competitions with kids and stuff like that. And while I was on that show, I interviewed everybody who was big then, some of whom are still big stars now. So Will Smith, Beyonce when she was part of Destiny's Child, Sting, Kenneth Branagh, a lot of actors and superstars came through. So that was a real highlight of my career. I started the Gadget Show, bottom left, in 2009. That came to an end about 3 years ago. But before I went to the Gadget Show, there was a bit of quiet in my career. So, there have been lots of ups and downs in terms of emotions and work availability. Sometimes, you go through it's feast and famine. Sometimes you have too much work to take on, and at other times you can't kick somebody's door down and beg for work. There was a period of that about 21, 22 years ago. So I decided to try my hand at a bit of acting. And from that, I guested on Doctors, the featured villain on The Bill. I did an episode of Chuckle Vision, which I'm very, very proud of. And I featured in 2 big screen movies, Derailed as a eager young cop and Kidulthood as a wrong 'un. So I've tended to find during that period when I was acting, I was either extremely on one side of the law, the bad side, or I was a policeman. I've played a policeman about 3 or 4 times. So nice and varied. And then after about 2 years, the TV work started to pick up again. So I started working on Gadget Show, and I was there for 13, 14 years.
Going back and picking up on a couple of the things that you talked about.
Go on.
Of all the, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not. This is a serious interview. What of those people that you interviewed back then?
Yeah.
Any kind of standouts for you for whatever reason? Any of those that really stick in the mind?
First of all, I just want to say it's very unusual for me to be on the receiving end of an interview. I'm normally that guy asking questions, so it's a weird one being up here and formulating answers. Let's think. Will Smith was a huge personality. Like, we were doing junkets, which is basically where the stars of a about to be released movie sit in one hotel room and they ferry through journalists, TV presenters, podcasters, people to interview them, and you could hear him booming from all the way down the corridor. He was really cool. I interviewed him twice, and he remembered me second time I interviewed him. Interviewed 50 Cent and I was struck by how intelligent he is, and that he had a master plan. And, you know, I interviewed him about 15 years ago. And now, you know, he's producing successful TV shows, movies, as well as continuing to make music. Anybody else stand out? For the most part, people are, they're really cool. I think if you approach them respectfully, don't try and dull their shine. You know, they're the star, so to speak. You're okay. I've had maybe one or two incidences. There was a girl group years ago called Shampoo, and they had a hit with Trouble, funnily enough, We're in Trouble. And they came over for an interview, and they were massive in Japan, absolutely huge. They came over to do an interview, and I didn't even have monosyllabic answers from them. Now, I could have left that thinking, you know, they were incredibly rude and disrespectful, but I think they were just tired. You know, they literally just jumped off a flight from Japan. They were still relatively young as well. I think something like 19 and 21 at the time, and they were probably just tired. So I haven't had any bad interviews. I've interviewed a couple of heroes, Busta Rhymes and Ludacris, and those interviews didn't go the way I wanted them. I wanted, you know, sort of big energy and lots of banter and, hey, oh, it's why don't you and I just become besties and you can come live out at my crib. I've got a little annex there for you. None of that happened. And sort of, sometimes you can leave an interview feeling a bit deflated, but no nightmare scenarios.
Okay. A question has come in saying, it doesn't say who it's from, so apologies for that, but what would you recommend someone in university to do now if they want to become an actor? Should they join an agency now or wait to finish university?
Joining an agency is really, really difficult. I found this out earlier this year, so I've made the decision to go back into acting, and it's a learning process for me. I've never really taken any official classes, but finding an agent is really, really difficult. I think the key thing to do first of all is build up a show reel. So, you know, use friends around you to help craft monologues, record those. Spotlight is your friend to put your CV or your details up. And there are lots of other services online now, Star Now, Mandy, to name just a few, and they get hundreds of casting calls daily. So if you sign up to those, you'll get an idea of parts that you can put yourself up for. But it's like anything in sort of the creative arts that I have found. A lot of the time you have to build your own content first and then let representation come to you, let them find you. The old-fashioned way, of course, is to just keep knocking on doors or sending emails or sending links to your social media, showing people what you've done, and just refusing to take no or hold on or wait a minute for an answer. Just keep going, and good luck.
Okay, well, we don't have more than enough time to try and cover everything here, and I'm not going to play the song, but I did find a copy of it on Amazon, so if anyone wants to look on there, you can get it. I think they were trying to charge £51.
Nice, see, because
so
it's a classic.
It's
vintage.
For you, it's the gift that just keeps on giving.
Yeah, but I get none of that money. Yeah.
Well,
it's a shame.
I want to now change track ever so slightly, well, quite a lot actually, and we talked about from the offset that there was an incredibly difficult time that you went through in your career, and talk us through what this is, what happened here.
Yeah, this is probably the worst period of my. There's no probably. This is undoubtedly the worst period of my career. This picture here represents that, and quite possibly the most challenging period of my adult life. I really excitedly signed up with Channel 4 to be the face of their World Athletics coverage, World Athletics Championships coverage. And the whole thing is a huge lesson in preparation, really. It was a brand new production company. Actually, the production company wasn't brand new. They'd done sport before, but what they hadn't done was live sport. And I'd done live TV for 15, 16 years leading up to that, but what I hadn't done was anchor all the elements that there are in and around sports. I was underprepared, they were underprepared, and I made a series of gaffes live and on air. I'm told it was excruciating to watch. 14 years later, I still can't watch it. But it was exceedingly painful sitting there, and with all the knowledge that I'd built up, all the experience that I'd had over the 15 years leading up to that, just leaving my body.
So you knew, you could feel...
Oh, you absolutely could feel it was all going wrong. I was sacked before, I was sacked after day 3, I believe. And there was a huge response online, basically calling for my head. Really, really negative coverage. And I stayed out there for the duration under the advice of my agent, because what she didn't want was for me to return home to a potential sort of melee at the airport, reporters melee. So I stayed out there. I took on a smaller role while I was there. And when I came back, there were articles in the newspaper, in the press, and I was concerned that it signalled the end of my career. Fortunately for me at the time, I still had the Gadget Show. So I continued to work on that for another 2 months, and then I was dropped from the Gadget Show. So it was at that point, 2 days before Christmas that year. I got married that year, I bought a house that year, I bought a really flashy car as well. So I really was Billy Big Bollocks at that time. It all came crashing down, and it was a huge lesson in humility. I was in denial for a good year or so, fully expecting new work engagements to come in. But my agent said she just couldn't get me into meetings. Nobody wanted to see me at all.
And that, just to jump in, I mean, that's probably something you don't think about. I mean, we've all made mistakes at work, you know, gas, but to be thrown into that environment with it, how do you deal with that?
Initially, I handled it really badly. I tried to respond to every single insult that came in on Twitter, and it was exhausting, and it was doing nothing to heal the pain I was feeling. There was just a long period of licking my wounds, and then drawing trusted people close and trying to make a plan. And also finally accepting that I probably wasn't going to work in television ever again. So I pivoted at that point. I retrained. I became a personal trainer, started building up a client base, set up a website, and was going to, be that guy who recommended, don't eat that, do 15 of these, now do 3 more. And my wife and I were, prepared to launch a whole company based around fitness.
And I know Rachel, she was someone who helped pull you through that, and probably one or 2 others.
Yeah, she demanded that I was honest with myself. Where's the money coming from?
Yeah.
How long have we got? And there wasn't any. There wasn't any money. I'd spent it all. We'd spent it all on a fucking wedding. Not that I regret getting married, but, like I said, I was Billy Big Bollocks at that point. So, we spent a bit of money on the wedding. As I say, we put money down on a house. and got to a point after about 6 months where there was no money. And Rachel said to me, just so that we know where we are, because you can't help yourself until you know the help that you need.
Yeah.
What do we need to do? How much money have we got? And I said, I'm not going to be able to make my tax payments in 2 months' time. Rachel's dad bailed me out. He lent me some money. He said, I'm not fussed when you pay it back. I just want to see that you're working to pay it back. And the first step in doing so was setting up my fitness business. And literally with about 2-3 weeks to launch, the industry started getting interested again. I don't even know where it came from. I wasn't on social media posting, this is my life now, pity me, or anything like that. I started doing corporate engagements for Samsung, Sony, etc. And then one day the phone rang and the Gadget Show said, yeah, that new spin-off show we tried to do didn't really work. Do you fancy coming back? So I went back and was back until, well, I sort of helped to drive the brand into the floor.
That's not true, is it?
No, well, no, I joke.
Still,
yeah,
it was still like the highest rated show
on
Channel
5, yeah.
Right? Yeah.
I was back on the show for 10 years.
Yeah.
10 years before I came to it.
I mean, look, thank you for sharing that, because I know from knowing you that was an incredibly difficult period for you, and it's only recently probably you've started to actually talk about it yeah. In public. And I'm just aware we're running out of time, we've got some other stuff to do, but that kind of lesson in resilience, what would be the one thing that you would advise anyone that's obviously not necessarily going through that, but... Please prepare,
research what it is you're doing or what it is you have to do. Prepare. You can't prepare for every eventuality, but just make sure you know what you're supposed to. You have to prepare, you have to do your research. Don't be afraid to ask for help before, during, and after. It's worth looking like you don't know it all in the run-up to doing something, giving yourself a chance to learn and know more than it is to look like a complete mug because you're flapping, you're flailing, and you don't know what you're doing, you're out of your depth. And by researching and preparing, if you do find out that you're out of your depth, ask for help. It's really important that you cultivate an environment around you that is conducive to getting help as and when you need it. You've got to be happy in your environment. Some people thrive under pressure. If being under pressure makes you happy and, you know, sort of gets your juices flowing, fine. But, you know, be prepared, know who your team players are, and do your research, and, yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. We've got to finish on, first we've got to finish on a positive, and it is a positive because you, again, have, someone over the last 30 years has transitioned into different things, and there's new things on the horizon. If you can, in the time that we've got,
yeah.
kind of talk through where are you today and what does the future look like?
So as I mentioned earlier, I'm trying to do a bit more acting now, and I don't want Oscars or accolades or anything like that. It's fun. It's fun being on set. I really enjoy being creative or trying to be someone who is slightly different to who I really am and surprising people. I have a blink and you miss it appearance in the Fantastic Four movie. So I am a Lagos parent, and there's a scene of my character and his family in their living room while the Fantastic Four are making things happen outside their window. Like 15-year-old me is absolutely going wild at the moment because I've collected comics for, 30 plus years, and I've always read Fantastic Four comics. So I'd like to do a lot more of that going forward. The three chaps who you see on your screen, including myself, collectively we call ourselves glassmates, and we're educators. a really rewarding industry I have found of late is the drinks industry. And the three of us have sort of charged ourselves with getting those who are interested in learning more about what's going on in their drink. We just want to teach them more. So we've got plans to launch our own YouTube shows, educate people on cocktails, all the spirits, gin, vodka, whiskey, rum. I'm a huge enthusiast and, you know, dare I say, a little bit of an expert in all of those things. Give us a follow if you fancy it. We're Glassmates UK on Instagram. And then the media leader, we've been talking about some collaborative work sometime down the line, hopefully in 2026. And for me now, I'm at an age where I'm not chasing money and I'm not chasing success anymore. What I'm trying to do is indulge my passions, educate people through that, have fun while I'm doing it, and hopefully enough money will come in to keep the wolves from the door. That's what I'm trying to be about now.
Well, like a true professional, you finished us with just 5 seconds left. Please give Ortis a very big round of applause.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Cheers, Steve.